What's up, world? I hope you guys are having an amazing day. It's time. It is absolutely time. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple seconds. Come on into the room. I know this is gonna be a monumental time of training, development, and a good bit of learning. And I'm absolutely excited about what we're about to dive into today. So do me a favor as you guys are coming in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in from Facebook to YouTube to LinkedIn. Let's take one quick moment and go ahead and hit that share button. I promise you, this is going to be something that is going to transform your life. And I'm not just saying that because it's me. I'm saying that because I'm teaching what I have lived. One of the things that I know firsthand, well, you know what, before we do that, as you're coming in, hit the share button for me. Just hit the share button. Don't take too long. Don't wait too long. Just hit the share button. I promise you, this is going to be just what you need. I'm actually going to hit the share button myself to bring you some of you guys from my Facebook profile over to where we're going to be broadcasting at tonight. Okay, so give me one quick second, but let's do this, man. I'm pretty stoked about everything that's going to happen today. I'm pretty stoked about all the development that's going to happen tonight. I'm excited about what's going to transform and what's going to impact you and take you from where you are right now to, most importantly, where you're headed. I know this and I know a lot of stuff, but one thing I do know for sure is that you are about to transform your entire life in less than 45 minutes. Like flat out, you're going to do it in less than 45 minutes. That's a hands down. That's it. That's the name of the game. That's what it is. You're about to transform your entire life in less than 45 minutes. And all you've got to do is sit there. So do me a favor. No matter what platform you're watching this on, hit the share button. I'm going to make sure I hit my privacy settings to be able to make this, to ensure that this goes around the world as well myself. But while I'm doing that, hit the share button, invite somebody to come on in because it's about to be a monumental time. All right. That's pretty much the simple thing right there. It's about to be a great time. One second. Let me hit this. There we go. And you know what? It's time to roll. It's absolutely positively time to roll. So, as you guys may or may not know, my name is Evan Brown, Coach Ev, however you want to refer to me or however you may have encountered me. I am a business strategist / solutionist from Atlanta, Georgia. And one of the things that I do in simplicity is I help people make income and impact simultaneously. Hear me. I help people make money and a difference at the same time. A wise man once told me years ago that you can actually be both and. You do not have to be locked into a place or into a space where you are only one thing, that you're only operating off one half of your brain, that you're only utilizing one set of your skills. You don't have to be that person. You do not have to live a limited life. If you're watching this on whatever platform it is, check it out. But do me a favor, right? I don't have to live a limited life. I do not have to live a limited life. One of the things that I've learned so quickly in life for sure is that most people have committed themselves to a life of, I'll say, mediocrity or simplicity out of a fear of being comfortable. That's all they want to do. They just want to be comfortable. Let me hit you with this quick fact and this thing that I want you to know 1,000% is that if you want to manifest your dreams, if you want to hit your business goals, if you want to be a millionaire, if that's your goal, it is not going to happen with you being comfortable. Hear me. If you want to see extreme success in this year alone, it is not going to happen with you being in this place, in this space, doing this thing called being comfortable. I'm telling you right now, as a man that is 32 years old, that has experienced a lot, that has overcome a lot, that has won a lot of areas, that have learned some very tough lessons. One of the things that I know is the backbone behind everything that anybody successful does is they did it without being comfortable. I'm telling you, one of the things that I love to break down for the entrepreneurs and business owners that I work with day in and day out, and organizations as well, is that when you don't take risk, you are putting yourself in a position where you're always going to be poor. Whether you're poor in finances, poor in spirit, poor in morale, poor in confidence, if you do not take risk, you are living in that place called poverty. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, you know what? Oh, here he's talking about money. I'm not really addressing the poverty and financially right now. I'm talking about the poverty in your mind. The NAACP, or the United Negro College Fund, has had this quote for probably 40, 50 years now, saying a mind is a terrible thing to waste. You know that what happens when you don't take risk and when you don't tend to go for things over a certain period of time, you eventually start to condition yourself into a place where you live in the I can't do that. I could never do that. That could never happen to me. But it's all because it's just like working out. When you work out, the more you utilize your muscles, the stronger they become, the more flexible they become, and boom, now you start to look better, feel better, all because you utilize the space that was yours, that you had access to, but you said, I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm going to pump. I'm going to push. I'm going to press, and I'm going to, even in pain, this is going to turn out the way I want it to. This is going to bring me a result or a desire that I am looking forward to. Y'all feel me? That is why it's important for you to take risks. So if you're coming in right now and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm excited about this. Thanks, Coach Ed, for creating the space. Let me tag a few friends in the comments. I'm going to take a brief breather for a quick second, not even for a quick second, just to make sure this is public so that I can ensure that we share this to everyone who needs to see it. So I promise you, this is not just going to be an amazing year for you and I. It's going to be an amazing year for anybody who says, I'm bad enough to do what's in front of me, even if it scares me. Hear me. It's going to be a phenomenal year for anybody who says, I am bad enough to go for it. I'm bad enough to do it scared. I'm bad enough to do it nervous. I'm bad enough to do it without always having all the information that I feel like I need. I'm bad enough to go for it because I want it bad enough. Part of the reason, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but part of the reason that we don't see a lot of the success that we should see is because we don't want it bad enough. I'm going to hit the live button right here on my Instagram so they can get a little taste of this, to get a little piece of this, what's happening right now. The reason why a lot of people are not seeing the success they want to see is simply because they don't want it bad enough. Because when you want it bad enough, you'll say, you know what? I'm uncomfortable as hell right now. I don't really understand this space that I'm stepping into, but I'm going to do it anyway. The name of the game for this year, for you to obtain all the results, the success, the accolades that you want to attain, is going to be, I was nervous as hell, but I did it anyway. I didn't have all the support that I wanted, but I did it anyway. I reached out and put my ego and my pride to the side, and I did it anyway. I'm telling you, 2023 is going to be magnificent for those who stand on the mantra, I did it anyway. I didn't know how the hell it was going to happen, but I did it anyway. I wasn't even confident in what I had for the most part, but I did it anyway. I thought these people were going to reject having a conversation with me, but I reached out and I did it anyway. If you commit to yourself right now, saying, hey, you know what? Push come to shove, if I just do it anyway, I promise you, those goals you have, those ones you put on your vision board or your manifestation board, or they're written in your journal, what's going to happen? You're going to look at those goals at the end of this year and be like, God dang, I have superseded this goal 2 or 3 times over. 2 or 3 times over. But all because you said, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And that's what we're doing. I went live on Instagram right now because I got a lot of followers over there. And I want people to have an opportunity to tap into what we're talking about right now, because it's important for you to say, you know what? I'm going to take risks this year. I'm going to take a lot of risks this year. So I'm going to start off at this place real quickly, because what happens is most people are like, hey, you know what? I signed up for this webinar. I subscribed to your YouTube channel. I recognize that I'm in a place or a space where I need to take a few risks in life. I know these last couple of years have been decent. They've been okay. And for some people, they've been lackluster. They've been mediocre as hell. And you're like, you know what? I am not going to allow this year to bring me to this space where at the end of this year, I'm like, damn, I wish I would have did something a little different. Damn, I wish I would have said, you know what? Let me put my ego to the side and go for it. Dang, you know what? I wish I would have took a risk and make that investment into myself, whether it's in a school, a certification program, a new business venture, or class. I don't want you to be at the end of this year saying, damn, I wish I would have. Because what's going to happen in that space, you're going to spend your entire year looking at people like myself and those that are watching this webinar right now doing things like, whoa, man, they doing it. Dang, They in magazines. Boom, they got brand deals. Boom, they're in school. Boom, they're in new cities. They're changing careers. And you're going to be sitting back looking like, man, I really wish I would have listened to that man at the top of the year. I don't want that to be you. And that's why we are here to talk about help. I'm afraid to take risks. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Evan Brown, Coach Ev, Ev the Kappa, or whatever he's a Hot Boy Ev, whatever you want to call me, that's who I am. And the one thing that I've committed my life to is helping people make income and impact simultaneously. I am also committed to making sure that you don't live in that place called stuck. Because what will happen is you'll stay in stuck. You'll live in stuck. You'll build a house in stuck. You'll settle for a life in stuck. Then all of a sudden, stagnation shows up at your door. So not only are you stuck, but now you're stagnant. And what you're missing out on is surplus. You can never access surplus in any way, shape, form, or fashion if you're stuck and if you're stagnant. And those are the two things that I help people do. I help people make money. I promise you, I've been sitting down with clients for 6.5 years, helping them make money, helping them enjoy what they do. But on the flip side of that, for those that I'm graced to give them new language and new context for, I simply help them get out of stuck and stagnation. Because you're supposed to live in a place called surplus. I live in surplus in every way, shape, form, or fashion. And so do you. You're supposed to, but it takes you taking a few risks. So that is why I do what I do. And if you're watching the stream, if you're on YouTube, you're seeing the slides on the screen. If you're not on Instagram and you're not seeing the slides, go ahead and hit the link in my bio on my story and jump into the presentation for what we have going on over here. So people ask me all the time, Coach Ed, what do you do? What do you do? Then they ask me, once I tell them I help people make money and an income simultaneously, they're like, okay, great. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? And I'm like, I do this because I am so committed to seeing people achieve their dreams without delay. There are so many people, and we've all heard this quote: "The graveyard is the wealthiest place alive," right? And that is true. But I don't want that to be my story. And I don't want that to be the story of those that look like me, that are in my age demographic, that are in my region, that graduated from my institution of higher learning. I don't want that to be our portion. Because also on the flip side of this, I'm in this seat right now, but I know what it feels like to be talented, skilled, gifted, anointed, whatever you can think of, and creative as hell, but yet stuck, not making the money I should be making, not making the progress I should be making, not even making the impact that I was designed to make. I know what that's like. I've been there. And that's why I do what I do, and I'm so passionate about it, is because I know what that limited life, that mediocre life looks like, because I've lived it briefly. And I promised myself when I got out of that hole for that one time, I would never go back into that. So we're here to talk about risk. Real simple. We are here to talk about risk. Now I'm gonna give you some real textbook stuff to start off. I'm gonna throw some stats your way. I gotta make sure y'all know that I'm educated and I'm smart about what I do. Let me tell you what a risk is. A risk is the possibility of a loss or an injury, right? That's one definition. Another definition of it is real simple: someone or something that creates or suggests a hazard. So definition number one, possibility of loss or injury. Definition number two, someone or something that creates or suggests a hazard. I'm gonna give you the third one, which is probably gonna make you laugh at yourself, because I guarantee you already know what direction I'm going in. The third definition for risk is the chance that an investment will lose its value. So we've got three definitions that should have gut punched you in three different ways. Number one, the possibility of a loss or injury, not a guarantee, but a possibility. Number two, someone or something that creates or suggests a hazard. All right, so we got two words that we have to really sit with: possibility and suggest. The third definition, the chance that an investment will lose its value. Let me tell you something. You scared, and I don't want you to be scared anymore, but I'm gonna talk to you directly, because I realize sometimes you need to pull something to your face and say, this is the mirror, deal with it. You are scared, and you are not willing to take the risk that you should, but with these things in mind: a possibility of a loss that's not guaranteed, a suggestion of a hazard that's not guaranteed, and a chance that an investment will lose its value that is not guaranteed. Do you realize the difference? And the only thing you have to do when it comes to conditioning your mind and your life to change is to take a risk. I mean, it's not anything too deep too spooky. Let me tell you something. It's as simple as taking a coin and flipping it. It's going to be a heads or tails. It's going to work or it's going to work in another different way. Hear me. It's going to work in one way or it's going to work out another way. Let me help you with one thing that I know that you need to know firsthand right now. You don't ever lose. You do not ever lose. I know that, there's a popular quote statement going around on social media that, millions is spelt with a few L's. That ain't my story. That ain't my portion. I'm not coming into agreement with that. And because I'm not going to, and why I'm saying that is because in that particular context, we are saying, hey, you know what? I have to lose sometime. I don't believe you have to lose sometimes, but you do have to learn every single step of the way. Now, as I touch my millions and touch more, I am going to, those L's and millions for me will be lessons learned, not losses. Connect with me here. I need you to say to yourself, I do not lose. I know culture, society, statistics, past experiences, trauma has told you that you lose. Or you have been conditioned because of family, because of circumstances, situations. Hey, you know what? I've lost. But I'm telling you, as good as this webinar is, you need to remember this. If you don't hear anything else I say for the next 20 minutes, hear me. You do not lose. You only learn. When you become okay with the fact that, hey, you know what? I didn't lose anything. I learned what to shift. I learned what to pivot. I learned what did not work. I learned part of what was not going to work. I learned what changes to make. I learned where to start. I also learned where to end. I also learned, hey, you know what? How do I take my unctions and what I feel and trust my gut? Because my gut's saying don't do that. But I did it anyway. All you do in life, day after day, step by step, is learn. You do not lose. If you're in one of these comments somewhere, right there, whether on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, this thing is going everywhere. Comment, I do not lose. I only learn. When you realize I've been blessed to be able to sit with millionaires time and time again, and each and every one of them has a very healthy relationship with the lesson that they learned or the lessons that they learned. None of them look at anything in their life as a failure. They say, hey, you know what? I learned a lesson. That lesson was a little harder than this lesson. But at the end of the day, I learned a lesson. I want to beat into your head that you don't lose. Because half of y'all are afraid to take risks because you think that losing is an option. That loss is an option. No, sweetheart. No, bro. All you're going to do is learn what way to go, which steps to take, which steps to not take as you go forward. So that was the textbook. That was Merriam-Webster. That's what Merriam-Webster says a risk is. Let me tell you what a risk is to me after my 10 years of experience in this lane of business development, marketing. I'm a marketing expert. I have been blessed to be able to do it all. Let me tell you out of my conductive research and my deductive learning, what a risk is to me. A risk is simply just the invisible glass between what you have and what you deserve. Hear me. Coach Ev's definition of risk is that it is just the invisible glass between what you have and what you deserve. I'm going to say it again, put it on your Instagram, put it on your Twitter, whatever you need to be. A risk, according to me, is just the invisible glass between what you have in your hands right now and what you deserve. When you realize that I deserve a hell of a lot more than what I got right now, it'll tell you, you will psych yourself into believing, let me go for this. Let me go for that. Let me go for this. Let me go for that. That's all a risk is, according to me. In my years of experience, in my 32 years of life and success and lessons learned, a risk is nothing but the glass ceiling or the glass between what you have currently and what you deserve. I'll give you another one just to really drive it home for you. A risk is just the test that everyone desiring success must take and pass. This ain't Miriam. This is me. All right. A risk is really just the test that everyone, and I mean every single person that wants success, that desires success, must take and pass. You do realize that the dreams that you support every single day, whether it's Five Guys, LA Fitness, Christian Louboutin, McDonald's, Wendy's, American Deli, Subway, all of these things that you put your hard-earned money into every single day was because somebody somewhere said, I'm going to take a risk. Most of the designers that we clam for, that we run behind, that we invest hundreds of dollars in weeks in and week out, most of those designers started things at 40 and above. They took a risk on their skills and even with their age in place, saying, you know what, I can build $1 billion brand at over the age of 40. Ava DuVar, she's an amazing storyteller. She started writing at like 40. And she's got series on Shonda Rhimes. All these individuals said, you know what, despite my age, despite where I am in life, despite what I'm doing, I'm going to take a risk because I recognize that what I have is not what I know I deserve. I deserve more. And I'm willing to take a very small step to get access to my more. The last definition I'm going to give you for what a risk is to me, it's the difference between you and the people you look up to. I can scream that to the mountaintops. A risk, according to me, is defined as the difference between you right there that's watching this video, you right there that's watching this right here. The difference is you and the people you look up to. They took a risk that you should have taken. They took a risk that you want to take. They took it. They took it, but guess what? It's your turn. Let me tell you something. And I'm going to talk about money right now because a lot of us are afraid to take the risk that will open up portals of finances that will transform our lives for the better, right? Let me tell you something. Risk, R-I-S-K-S, rich, R-I-C-H. The risk you won't take is what's going to hold you from becoming rich. Hear me. That one risk you're not willing to take right now is going to be the thing that holds you up from becoming rich. And rich is the first step of being wealthy. Okay? That one risk. You realize those two terms, those two words are spelled simultaneously, pretty much the same. R-I-S-K, R-I-C-H. You shift that S and K to C and H, guess what? You went from risk to rich. It's simple, y'all. I promise you it's simple. I'm going to give you guys some applicable formulas in just a second. But I want you to hear me and hear what I'm saying to you. That risk you won't take, right, is the one thing that's holding you up from becoming rich. It's that one risk. That one. Somebody say that one. That one risk that you won't take is the one risk that'll make you rich. I could actually stop this right now. But hear it again. The one risk you will not take is the one risk that will make you rich. Just that one. Just that one. All right. So I know I'm talking about risk and getting rich, right? Taking the risk is going to get you three things, especially when it comes to being rich, right? Taking a risk towards riches is going to get you these three things. One, it's going to make you money. Because as I told you earlier, we don't lose, we learn lessons, right? And as you learn lessons, especially lessons centered around finances, you learn great lessons that you know not to repeat. Going after risk that you know will make you rich is going to bring you money. It's going to bring you money. It's going to bring you lessons learned, but it's also going to bring you money. Because there are a couple different ways to be rich in this world. Rich right now, we're talking about rich in money, but you can also be rich in confidence. Because I guarantee you there are things that I've been able to obtain, connections that I've been able to have, numbers that I've been able to secure, and in my phone right now, simply because I was so rich in confidence, I walked up to somebody in an elevator and said, hey, how you doing? I know you're such and such. My name is Evan Brown. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I do this, and that. I just wanted to introduce myself to you. I believe at some point in time, life is going to align for us to sit down together, whether in one room or another, but I wanted you to know that we've met before. I hope you have an amazing night. Crazy, right? But that's worked for me. But because I was so rich in confidence, I was able to step forward into a space and say, you know what? I'm going to go after what's in front of me. Even if it's something as small as just making an introduction. There is something that I'm convinced of within this year is that if you are willing to go pursue the relationships you know you need, you are going to unlock so much in your life and so much for your life, all because you got somebody that's going to vouch for you. I've got a friend that's now going to be working with and working for one of the biggest names, biggest families in Black America, right? And it's simply because somebody vouched for her. Somebody that she met at a bar. A conversation she had at a bar turned into an opportunity of a lifetime a couple of years later that she's living in, right? Tripled her salary. completely opened up the doors and the floodgates for what she wants to do going forward. But it all came because of a relationship. And that's why it's important for you to be rich in confidence, because confidence will lead you to do some stuff that you in your scared nature, you in your uncertain nature normally would not do. But when you're rich in confidence, not just in money, when you're rich in confidence, you move differently. You'll walk up to people and say, hey, you know what? I am such and such. Just wanted to introduce myself. I will look forward to seeing you again in 5 years. Or I look forward to sitting down with you in a couple of years. I'm telling you, that is what confidence can do. Y'all don't even think about it like this from this standpoint. You don't even want to date somebody that doesn't approach you in confidence. All right? And if you don't want to date someone that approaches you in confidence, why would you want to live out your days not being rich in confidence yourself? Because think about what you could have secured if you would have moved in confidence and went for it, right? So if you don't hear anything else from that, hear this. This year, you're going to have to pursue what it is you know you need. I know manifest culture says one thing. You know what? Write it on your board, chant it every morning, call those things that be not as though they were. That's not manifest culture. That's a scripture, and I believe in it. But I do believe right now the bold are going to win. The bold are going to get stuff 10 times faster than those that are sitting around waiting for it to come to them, fall in their laps. Because the bold are going to say, oh, you know what? Oh, that's such and such right there. Let me go introduce myself. The bold are going to say, hey, you know what? I got $300 right now. Do I want these shoes, or do I want to put this aside so I can take this real estate class? So I know once I get this real estate license and I pass this test, I've got the personality and the charm. Once I put information with that, there's no reason I can't be one of the biggest realtors in my city. Confidence, connections. The third thing that being rich in this year is going to taking the risk to get rich is going to bring you amazing connections. I've talked a lot about connections just now, but I want you to really get it into your psyche. You're going to have it this year, and you're going to meet them this year. Whoever they are, you're going to meet them. But you've got to be confident as I don't know what to step forward. And it's a little easier to speak to certain types of people when you've got the money in your pocket. You feel as though you don't have to fight through some of those things. Like, oh my God, I don't compare to them. I don't have what they have. But sometimes a few calculated risks will put you in a space where you got the money. Then pick up the confidence and then go after the connection and watch the rest of the world open up to you. So with that being said, so that's a good overview, right? I know it's a lot, but I'm giving you what I know that you need to be successful this year. I'm also giving you something that I lived, tested, tried, got results, social proof, real proof, whatever you want to call it. I have the results for it. I'm going to give you 4 types of risks that you have to take. Or I'm going to give you 3 types of risks that are common in your life that you probably want to identify from this standpoint so that you can make the necessary adjustments internally and externally to get what it is you want. The first type of risk that you're going to have to be okay with taking are life-centered risks. I'm going to give you all 3 risks right now. Life-centered risk, purpose-centered risk, and business-centered risk. Those 3. Life-centered risk, purpose-centered risk, and business-centered risk. And if you're like most of us, ambidextrous, multifaceted, you're probably going to be operating in all 3 risks at the same time at some point this year, if you're not already in it. I can speak for myself. I call it the 3P. I'm having to make life-centered decisions versus purpose-centered decisions, as well as business-centered decisions all simultaneously, because you know what? I'm a multifaceted person, just like you. I got a lot going on. I got a lot to do. So all these things really do work together and kind of work in tandem, a 3-fold cord, if I'm honest. So you know what? I'm gonna give you the overview so you can make your own deductive reasoning as to where you fall. A life-centered risk, okay? The first type of risk that you need to be aware of is a life-centered risk. These are the risks that include major life changes or shifts, which can be career changes, geographic moves, steps towards inner healing, relationship building and ending, and etc. All right. So your life-centered risk that most of us are going to have to make more than one time this year will include career shifts, education shifts, investments into self, geographic move, because some of us are going to be moving cities real soon, steps towards inner healing. Some of us are going to be enrolling into therapy, psychotherapy, one way or another, as well as relationship building, knowing who to build with going forward, and also relationship ending, knowing who to say, hey, you know what, it's been a great run. That's a life-centered risk. Number 2, a purpose-centered risk. And a lot of you are probably in this space right now, trying to identify How are you going to, for purpose-centered risks are those that involve you unlocking or moving further into your divine or individual why. Because truth be told, I don't care where you are, what's going on around you, what circumstantially is happening, you were put here for a reason. You have a why. And purpose-centered risk will include things like personal growth, religious endeavors or dive-ins or dive-outs, whatever it is. Or also intentional pursuits of knowledge, inner healing, and so much more. You're probably going to have to make a purpose-centered decision before the end of the week. Whether it's to sit down and say, hey, you know what is my purpose? If it's to sit down and say, hey, you know what, let me spend more time fine-tuning or getting some more clarity on my purpose. If it's, hey, you know what, I need to go back to my purpose because I put it down because of life circumstances, people, trauma, what experiences, whatever it is. You're going to have to make a purpose-centered decision before the end of this year. You're probably like, hey, you know what, I don't fit into those categories, but I know what I'm supposed to do, but I know I don't know enough to be effective or to be impactful in what I know I'm designed to do. Let me go get more knowledge. Hey, or the last one, I need to heal a little bit more because I know what I'm supposed to do. I've done it before, but I need to get back to a place where I believe that I can do it again. Because this is purpose. This makes me feel alive. I've got to be willing to take a purpose-centered risk to get myself internally, me, the individual, you, the person, to where you need to be to do what you're supposed to do. Number 3, my favorite. Not my favorite, they're all my favorite. But number 3, business-centered risks. Those that include the establishment of new ventures or the courage to make necessary pivots in your current business endeavors. I'll say that one again. Your business-centered risk that you're going to have to make at some point this year will probably include the establishment of a new venture, you stepping into a new lane, probably a lane that you may not be aware of, probably a lane you did not see coming, but it's here. Or you may need to have the boldness and the courage to say, hey, you know what? I've been doing this for a while this way, but this is no longer working. I need to make some adjustments. I need to make some shifts. I need to make a few pivots because what I'm doing worked 5 years ago. What I'm doing worked 3 years ago. But what I'm doing now and what I did back then, it worked then, but it's not doing what I need to do right now. I'm not seeing the results I'm looking for. I'm not seeing the productivity I'm looking for. I'm not seeing the impact I know I'm designed to make. That means that at some point, you're going to have to sit down and say, you know what, I've got some business-centered risk that I'm going to have to take. But it's a lot easier to take business-centered risk when you've already made steps in the right direction towards your life-centered risk. And it's also able to do that when you are clear on what your purpose-centered risks are and you've done that process. Which leads you to my last one, the 3P. Most of us, I guarantee you, 87% of the people watching this are probably going to end up in the 3P, where your life-centered, business-centered, and purpose-centered risk are all going to be happening simultaneously in the same season. And let me tell you what you can't do. You can't even avoid it. You actually have to let it happen. You've actually got to live through it. You actually got to find a way out of it. You actually got to sit in it to ensure that you made not just a good decision, but the right decision for your entire future. All 3. I'm telling you, all 3. Let me stop here. So I know we're going to have some questions. If you have some questions, drop them on my Instagram, drop them on in the comments here on the chat. I want to answer some questions for you all, but I want to tell you this before I go any further. You should be taking very calculated risks. And I'm going to dive into this some more on the next part of the slide, but hear me. You should be taking very calculated risks. I know being calculated often has such a negative connotation. You know, we've experienced people who were calculated and the motive seemed impure. The motive seemed negative. The motive seemed hurtful. But let me tell you something. You watching this video, watching this replay, watching this on LinkedIn, no matter where you're watching it, you have got to be willing to be calculated in your risk taking. You've got to be bold enough to be calculated in your risk taking. You've got to realize the power of calculated risk taking. Most of us are not taking risk at all. And we signed up for this webinar. We're watching this replay because we recognize that risk taking is not what we do well. But we know that this is something that we must do if we want to have a life that we need to that we desire to have, that we've dreamed about having, that we've written on our vision boards, that we've written on our notebooks, and that we've literally said, hey, you know what? This is going to be my life. You got to take some calculated risks, okay? So let me give you what a calculated risk is going to look like for you within this year. For many of you, it's going to be the first quarter. But for sure, within this year, your calculated risk are going to look like this. And you're going to see it again. The invisible glass between what you have and what you deserve. Calculated risk are going to allow you to be intentional about getting there and getting there fast, right? They're also going to be, in that same breath, the test that everyone desiring that you must pass in success. And I'm sorry, pass, and you must take and pass. Your calculated risks are going to be tests that you can take, that you can pass, because you're going to do on the back end what's needed to be done. Let me tell you why people are afraid to take risks right here, okay? Let's get into why we're all here. Why you are struggling with taking risks. We've already broken down what you need to do, how you need to do it, but I'm going to tell you what your holdup truly is, all right? Number one, you are more committed to your comfort zone than you are to your goals or desired outcome. The number one reason why you are afraid to take risk is because you are more committed to being comfortable than you are to the goal or the desired outcome that you want. The only way you're going to circumvent that is by you deciding that what I have in front of me, what I have in my mind, what I have in my heart, what I have on this sheet of paper is worth going for. That's a personal place. You're going to have to say, hey, you know what? I've been thinking about this. I've been wanting to do this. I've been vacillating with this. I've been crying about this. I've been praying about this. I've been studying for this. I've been doing all these things. But at some point, I decided that being comfortable was more important than the desired outcome that I really wanted. And the only one that can change that is you. I'll even tell you this. This broadcast is going to inspire you to want to make that change. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make that change for you. That's the number one reason right there that people don't take risks. It's because they're so committed to being comfortable that they're saying, you know what, I'd rather be comfortable than have what it is that I say I really want to have. And as I'm saying this out loud, you're probably like, damn, I don't even really feel like that. But your actions say that. You may not have ever voiced it verbally or used your voice audibly to recite it. But your actions, your up and down productivity, your up and down discipline, your starting and stopping for the last 10 years, it says that you don't really want it like you say you want it. And that you're okay with where you are right now, that you're comfortable in this spot. You're comfortable in this particular space, and you don't want to get out of this space. Let me tell you something. You've outgrown the space that you're in. You have outgrown the space you're in. Have you ever put on a jacket that was probably 3 years old, right? That was 3 years ago, that you should have worn 3 years ago, that you did wear 3 years ago. No matter how great it was, no matter how expensive it was, no matter how much you like it, 9 times out of 10, you just can't fit it. And that's where most of us are when it comes to a lot of stuff that we want to do in life. You've wanted it long enough, but you have not just said, hey, you know what? I actually want it bad enough to do something about it. Number two, the number two reason why people are afraid to take risks. You actually have a very unhealthy relationship with the life principle called investing. Hear me. The number two reason why you are afraid to take the risk you know you need to take is because you have a very unhealthy relationship with the term investing. Let me hit you with the real. You've got to invest your time, your talent, your gift, your money, your heart, whatever you want to call it, your sleep. You've got to invest into what you want, especially if you want to get to the next level of anything. It's going to take investments. There are individuals that, as a business coach and strategist, I can say it because I've worked with them now. There are individuals that have come to me saying, man, I've been watching you for years. You know, the first thing I say, it took you that long to invest in you. It's not a compliment when somebody says to me, I've been watching you for years. I've been encouraged by you for years. I've been downloading your stuff for years. I'm just finally using it. It took you that long to invest in you. I appreciate your support, but I want you to recognize that you got to have a very healthy relationship with the term called investing. And that includes your money, but that also includes you investing in you by way of time. The number three reason why people are afraid to take risks, you are scared. Some of you are absolutely terrified about chasing your dreams. Terrified. But I guarantee you, if I handed you a sheet of paper right now and say, hey, you know what you're afraid? What are you afraid of? Write it out. You got 10 seconds. I guarantee you, most of you all could not formally articulate what it is that you're afraid of. You couldn't. You couldn't. Let me tell you why. Because you're really not that afraid. You, honest to God, are not that afraid. A lot of the things that people say, oh my God, I'm afraid about making the investment. I'm afraid about making the step. I'm afraid about going after that dream. I'm afraid about all of these things, or afraid of these things, is typically because you're not well informed. Because when you're well informed, you're not afraid of certain things. Every time that I've been able to identify that fear manifested in my life over the last 32 years, it always went back to a lack of information. There was something that I needed to know that I didn't know. And because I didn't choose to go get what I needed to know, it was like, oh man, I'm afraid of this goal. I'm afraid of this dream. I'm afraid of making this investment. I'm afraid of making this step in this right, then this going and going here. I'm afraid of doing that. But it was always centered around, because I get 8 times out of 10. So out of everybody that will watch this replay, 80% of you all just don't have enough information. And so because you don't have enough information, and often information scares us, and we don't pursue it, we don't pursue knowledge, we don't often pursue the connections that we need, we'll settle and say, oh, I'm afraid. We'll settle in, oh my God, anxiety. We'll settle in worry. We'll settle in letting somebody else do it, when it really could have been you if you would have just went and got the information that you needed. I know, because it was once me. I was saying I'm afraid of this goal. I was afraid of pursuing this dream. When in all actuality, I didn't even know enough about that goal and dream to be able to say I'm afraid. That fear got me. No, a lack of information has me. So if you need me to give you an overview or summarize that, the number 3 reason why people are afraid to take risk is because they're afraid, but they're not really afraid. They're just not informed. They're not really afraid. They're just not informed as they could and should be for them to move forward in what? Confidence. I got one more for you. Number 4, the fourth reason as to why people are afraid to take risk is because after we deal with the fact that there's a lack of information, there is also a lack of sufficient planning. I guarantee you this, if you have not efficiently planned, most people are afraid to take risks most people that are afraid to take risks are often poor planners. And I'm talking about those who are like definitely afraid, like, oh my God, I can't do this, or they choke up and stuff. Typically, you're a poor planner, because it's hard to make a plan for something when you don't have the information. If you don't first have the confidence, you set yourself up for failure, right? So if you have not efficiently planned, that is why you're afraid to take risks. You have not sat down and said, you know what do I need exactly? What do I need to make this dream come to life? What do I need to make this business venture arise and whatever you want to do? What do I need to make this leap and this jump and this step towards a new career path? You don't know what you need. Let me tell you something I've been utilizing for the last 5 years. I have an iPhone note called Know Your Need. Anytime I'm going up against something that I cannot swipe my debit card for to bring into my life, I identify it as a need, right? Because I do believe that my wants are needs too. That's just me personally. I believe I'm supposed to have absolutely what I want, and I'm willing to work for it. But I have this note called Know Your Need. Anytime I have a big project, a big deadline, a big goal, a big dream, I legitimately write out what I need. The camera that I am broadcasting this YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook broadcasts on was something that was on my needs list. And let me tell you how crazy it was. When one young woman said to me, hey, I want to bless you. God told me that you've been a great impact on my life, and I appreciate you. I want to sow into your business. What do you need? I went right to that note. I need this camera. It would enhance my visual presentation when I do my workshops and my webinars. Guess what, y'all? That $1,300 camera is sitting right here. I didn't have to swipe my card for it. But I knew my need. I believe that one of the greatest things you can do is prepare for what you don't have yet, right? One of the greatest things you can do is prepare for what you don't have yet. You having something written down like the Know Your Need notes, and all you do is put those things in there, put the dollar amount. Don't be afraid of the dollar amount. Because we're in a day and age where people are creative in their funding, they're creative in the way they do things, they move off of unctions and leadings, and sometimes you just need to really know what you need. Think about the stuff that has plagued you and allowed you to not move forward and building whatever it is in your life that you want to build. Majority of that, you didn't have the direct answer for. You didn't have like down to the T what exactly you needed. Because I guarantee you, if you did, the outcomes would have been different in some of those situations. It's like if you're a Christian and you're saying, hey, you know what? I've got faith the size of a mustard seed. Your faith should tell you to know all your needs. Whether it's business, career, academic, it should know your needs. Because if you really believe what you say that you believe, your higher power or whoever you believe in, your higher powers should be instructing somebody and preparing somebody to be a blessing to you, to come into your pathway, to confirm that you're going in the right direction by some act of kindness randomly, right? That is really it. But you got to know what you need first. So what's the purpose of your higher power, your higher being, your God, sending somebody your way that could be a blessing to you, but you're not prepared. You're not ready. You're not even able to say, hey, somebody's talking to you in the elevator. Yeah, I do this, and that. I'm believing for a creative space for me to have this, and that. Somebody says, oh man, well, how much do you need for investment? Oh, I don't know. What? Because you may be in the elevator with the CEO or a millionaire or even a small business owner or a serial entrepreneur who needs to give some money away for tax purposes, who needs to donate to some nonprofits for tax breaks. And what you needed could have been in your hand, but you just didn't know. And I believe wholeheartedly that some of our higher powers are like, hey, you know what? If you're not even prepared enough, I'm not even going to situate things in that space, because if you fumble it, you'll probably be so much more discouraged that you won't even go for it ever again. Real simple, but it's like, why don't we do it? But that's what it is, a lack of preparation, a lack of efficient planning. I'm telling you, one of the things that I've noticed, especially in marketing and with my business development clients, is that those that weren't willing to take certain types of risk and investments is because they hadn't planned. But it wasn't just they haven't planned this, they hadn't really planned a lot of anything. Because one thing, the beautiful and the most powerful part about planning is that when something arises, you can pivot. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Relaunching my business in 2023, going full throttle as Coach Ed. I've got a plan, right? But even some of my plans have plans, little pivots, little shifts and changes. Because what happens is, I believe that when you show up to the table with a plan, you put yourself in a space where it's like, hey, you know what? If something does arise that I was not expecting or that I was hoping did not show up, I've got an alternate route around it. So I don't have to be shaken up. I don't have to be twisted up. I don't have to be locked out, because you know why? I've got a second plan for that. You guys get it? The fifth one, the final one. The fifth reason that I believe that people don't take risk is that you still believe that you're susceptible to loss. I said that earlier. You don't lose. Bro, you don't lose. You never lose. You only learn. You do not lose. You only learn. This part is mental. I'm telling you, when it comes to the difference between many of us and those that inspire us, those that we see on social media, those that we see in magazines, on TV, is that some of these people just says, you know what, I'm willing to go balls to the wall. I'm willing to go for everything. I have a thing that I do, and I want you guys to include it into your life. I never not go after something. And this is why. I always say, I'm not going to tell myself no when the world may not. I'm going to give the world the space to tell me no. You are never going to catch me not going after something that I feel as though is in my heart that I want or that I think that I deserve. Because I'm a firm believer that why would I tell myself no before the powers that be, the world has the opportunity to say, no, not right now. Because no really is only just a not right now. But how crazy is that? How crazy do I sit back not applying for the job, not applying for the government grant, not going for the promotion, not going, pursuing information for the new degree? What do I look like not doing that out of a fear that I'm going to get rejected? Fuck that. Fuck all that. Absolutely not. I am going to go forward. And if the powers that be, if the world's like, hey, you know what? This ain't it. I'm not going to do that. This may not be the best fit. I'm going to give them the opportunity to look at me and say, hey, you know what? We reviewed it, but not right now. Because what did I tell you earlier? Because not right now could turn into we run into each other a year and a half later, and now not right now is because I was for right now. But it all began because I allowed myself to go for it. So please add that to your to-do list. To know your needs and that statement and that my beliefs that, hey, you know what? I'm never going to tell myself no when the world hasn't told me no yet. Because the world may mess around and say, absolutely, you're the perfect person. But I wouldn't be in that realm of opportunity if I told myself no and didn't go after what was in front of me. Last thing, because I know I've been giving it to you, and I know you're probably like, get me off this thing. There's a formula for everything in life. I do believe this, that when it comes to making calculated decisions, intentional decisions, steps in the right direction, there is a formula of some kind that you can put into place that will save you heartache, pain, stress, money, resources. All right. It's called planning. Let me give you my personal formula for risk. Step 1, establish what the goal or desired outcome is. This is my personal formula for risk. Decide and establish what the goal and your desired outcome is, right? That's my number one thing. This is why when you identify the goal and why it is the goal, you can also give yourself an estimated time frame. Hear me. Establish the goal, give it the desired outcome or your desired outcome, and establish the time frame. You've got to be a bad motherfucker to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this in 6 months. I believe when people do things like, hey, you know what? I'm going to put a time frame or a deadline on something. It makes them work harder. It makes them enroll in discipline. It makes them enroll in consistency. You know why? Because they say, I don't want to disappoint myself. Part of the reason that people don't put dates on goals is because, hey, you know what? I don't want to disappoint myself. But let me tell you something. Why not go for it? Why not put it all out there? Have you not been disappointed before? Have you died because of disappointment? No. All you did was learn a lesson, take a little hit, and move forward. I put a date on everything because if I don't put a date on everything, I don't have anything to hold me accountable. Dates hold people accountable. Dates lead to discipline, which lead to consistency, which lead to you having the desired outcome that you have written down. Step number 2 for this formula for risk is a risk analysis. You've got to be able to analyze what it is you really want to do. You've got to have an understanding of what it is you truly want to accomplish and what goes into it. It's crazy that people are like, oh my God, I got to go. I need to take this risk. I'm considering doing this, but they have not analyzed what that risk looked like, what it includes, what that plan of action is going to do, right? Developing a plan of action is a way to success. What are the steps that you need for your goal? What are your needs? Information is crucial to risk taking. But doing a risk analysis saying, hey, you know what? I got this goal. I've already got my date from step 1. Here I am, etching out my goal. I know I'm going to do this in 6 months. So what do I need to do in this 6 months time frame to hit this desired outcome? What do I need to save? What do I need to shift? What do I need to start? What do I need to stop? What information do I need that I don't have? What do I need to learn? Anytime you do an efficient and a thorough risk analysis, and it's analyzing your risk, it's real simple. It sounds deep, but it's real simple. Analyzing your risk, you are putting yourself in a zone called a win, success, desired outcome, goal. You know why? Because you are going full forward with what? Information. People perish for a lack of understanding, and you can't understand what you don't have the information to wrap your mind around. I'm telling you, information is going to be crucial for anything that you decide to do within this year. You can't wing it no more. You cannot wing it no more. Let me tell you why you can't wing it no more. Because I can't wing it no more. You know why I can't wing it no more? Because the world is smart. Artificial intelligence, intellectual property. People are whole doctors. People are mindset strategists. You cannot wing it anymore. You got to know what you know for sure. You can't wing it. Winging it will keep you operating from a place of behind. Winging it will keep you behind the cusp. Winging it will never even put you in a position where you can get ahead because you're always just winging it. You realize smart people prosper. You don't really have a lot of dumb people who are really making it. I'm going to give y'all somebody that the world seems to go back and forth between. People thought for years that Kim Kardashian was an airhead. She got a whole Harvard business class centered around her and her business endeavors. She's taken the pseudo law exam twice. She's passed it, the bar, the subtle bar. She's not dumb. She's not dumb. You can't afford to be dumb. You can't afford to be misinformed. You cannot afford to not be informed anymore. You just can't. You absolutely cannot. All right. The third portion of this formula for taking risk is risk identification. We've talked about establishing your goal and your ideal outcome. We talked about doing a thorough risk analysis. From there, you having a plan of action, knowing what you need to do. You need to know, hey, what are my risks here? What are the actual risks? And after you know what your risks are, rate the risk on a scale of 1 to 10. How risky is this? In my mind, it seemed like one thing. But now that I've processed through this formula for taking efficient and calculated risk, how risky is this right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Because I guarantee you, if you follow this process, if you do this tonight in your journal or do this tomorrow when you're rewatching this, when you write this stuff out, you'll realize that a lot of that stuff that you were afraid of here, then when you put it on here, it really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't what you gave it the energy to be. It wasn't any of that. It was not any of that. But you've got to be willing to sit down, plan out, and most importantly, identify the risks that are in front of you. And of course, when you identify your risk, you're then able to create, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, those plans B and C for plan A. You may not need a plan B and C for everything, but you're going to need a B and C floating around somewhere for a couple different stages and whatever this is that you're going after. You're going to need that because you will have to pivot at some point. It is not going to go the way that you absolutely planned every single time. Absolutely, it's not. It's not. It won't. It's not designed to do that. But a person who's identified what their risks are will say, you know what? All right, I saw this coming. I knew this was a potential, so I have a backup plan for this. Boom, now we're around it. And what could have been the thing that literally made somebody else quit and close their business, you'll already have an idea for it, a strategy around, a way to maneuver through it. You got it? So that's your formula for taking calculated risk. The things that you're gonna have to do all 2023 will include you doing, if you want to do it right the first time and not have to lose a whole lot in the process, establishing your goal and desired outcome, taking the journey through the risk analysis, aka formulating an actual plan. Step 3, identifying what the risks actually are, writing them, and then planning around them. I know this may seem super complex, super stressful, but it's really not that. It's really not that. It is really not that hard. But it does require a level of intentionality that we've got to be willing to step up and say, hey, you know what? I got to be more intentional with this. I got to do this differently. I've got to do this in a way that I've never done it before. So what I want to do, as you guys can probably clearly see it on the screen, I want to open it up for a few questions. Drop your questions here on Instagram. Drop your questions here on the chat feature on LinkedIn, Facebook. Hopefully it pops up. If not, I'll pop up my phone and kind of catch that stuff. But drop your questions here. I want to take a few. And while you guys are formulating your questions, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for sitting in to help I'm Afraid to Take Risks. I know firsthand that I had over 100 subscribers in my first effort for YouTube. So that means at least 100 people said, you know what, at some point, I'm struggling in my ability to take risks. And I need to do something about it. So I want to say thank you for tuning in, jumping in, and being a part of this experience. Because you were here, I want to give you something. I want to give you a token of not my appreciation or of my appreciation in the form of something that I know is going to tremendously transform your life. And I say this from a standpoint of confidence, not being rude, not being a jerk, but I've been doing this for a while and I've been very successful at doing this. And I love doing this, right? I absolutely love doing everything about this. And I love seeing the results that I've been able to see over the years. So with that being said, if you're watching this right now and this has been a tremendous help to you, I don't want you to cash at me or any of those things like that. I want you to go to my website, join my mailing list. And once you get done joining my mailing list, I want you to hit the services tab. I want you to go over to the ultimate coaching tab. And I want you to book your session with me for 50% off. I'm going to tell you now, this is not going to last long. I'm also going to tell you right now, I'm really good at what I do. I've got over 10 years of experience working with personal brands, small brands, large brands, organizations, corporations, religious organizations. I have helped people make a lot of money. I have. And I'm going to continue to do it to the day I die. I've got a client right now that we've been working with. Our launch a week and a half ago, we made over $15,000 in one launch for an 8-week program. 15K. What could you do? What could you do with an additional 15K? Another client of mine that we had Black Friday for this past year, launch day, $56,000 on Black Friday in sales. 56. Before we even got to December 25th, we had cleared over $100,000 in sales. $100,000, over $100,000 in sales because of strategy and building something that actually makes sense. I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm the person you need to talk to, especially if you're in that place of stuck in stagnation. You should talk to me. I have been graced to help people unlock surplus for quite a while. Oh, let me put this out there for you. I had a client that was doing a capital campaign to end the year. December, the time of the year where people say, hey, this is the terrible time to raise money. This is the terrible time to ask people for anything. You know what we did? We raised over $50,000 for him to be able to move into the space that he's moving into, to build what he's been instructed to build by God. And guess what? He did it debt-free. So we're looking at 100,000, 50K, and at least another 15K on 3 clients in the last 60 days. You may want to sit with me, and I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to sit with me for a fraction of the investment. So if you go to my website, book with the services tab, utilize the code RISK23, and this is not for me. This is for you, because I want to make sure that you start your year off in the best way, the absolute best way possible, which is you moving forward, doing what you're supposed to be doing, taking the risk that you're supposed to take, and most importantly, getting that desired outcome that you're supposed to have. Because I'll tell you this, at the end of the day, people are going to have it. People are going to make it. Somebody somewhere is going to go for it. Somebody somewhere is going to sell the product that you should have been selling. It's going to purchase the investment properties that you should have been purchasing. Going to start the business, grow the business, sustain the business, scale the business that you should have been doing. They're going to do all of that. And it could have been you, but all you have to do is take 1 to 2 more risks, and it would have changed absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. So this is what I want you to do. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, drop your comments in the comments log right there, because one of the great things about YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, get to it. I'll be able to go back into this replay and answer your questions directly. Because I guarantee over time, as people continue to watch this video and this video goes around the world, people are going to have the same questions that you have, and those answers will already be formulated right there. Also, in that description, you'll be able to hit that link and download my presentation. So that way you can take this information with you as much as you need to. If you got to share with a friend, share with a bro, a homegirl, whatever you got to do, you'll be able to share out the information right there. Just click that, download it. You can save it to your phone, save it to your computer. I don't care what you do with it. I just want you to use it, because that's what's most important to me, is that you step forward and do and be who you're supposed to be. And most importantly, do all that you're supposed to do this year. Because I don't want to be, and I won't be the one that's left out. I won't be the one that doesn't hit those goals. I won't be the one that doesn't hit those metrics. And if you sit down with me and take this journey with me throughout this year, you won't either. I'll be sure that I guarantee that if you sit with it, commit to it, push past your pride, how you feel, what you think, what you don't like, what you're not comfortable in, what you are comfortable in, I promise you, the moment you come out of the prison called the comfort zone, your entire life will change for the better. Because you don't shake up the world and make a lot of money and make an impact simultaneously in your comfort zone. It takes a season or a space where you're not doing something that you're the most comfortable with. It takes a space and a time where you have to do something where you're literally sacrificing. It takes that. It absolutely takes that. And you're the perfect person to do it. And this is the right year, the right time of year for you to be balls to the wall and go after all that is you need to do. So I want to say thank you all for joining me, watching this replay. Subscribe to my newsletter on my website. Watch some of the other videos on my content channels. I promise you, I am going to be intentional about bringing you high quality content, high value content for you to transform not just you, but also your business as this year goes on through. There's so much to do. So much has changed. When I tell you guys the stuff that I learned in the last quarter of 2022 regarding digital marketing and where things are going, there is so much happening. So much shifting, so much that you need to know, not to just to remain competitive, but to get ahead of the cusp. The name of the game is no longer be competitive. The name of the game is no longer deal with your competitors. It is literally to get ahead of the cusp, to know what the next trend is, to be a forerunner and a trailblazer. That's where the money is, and that's where you're designed to be. So I thank you so much for your time. I love you all. If this has been good to you, leave a good comment in the comments on any platform: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And if you didn't like it, shoot me a message as to why you didn't like it. If you got some personal questions you want to ask, shoot me a DM on any of these platforms. Shoot me an email. Join the mailing list. But most importantly, apply the information that you have gotten today. I'm telling you, not what I think, what I heard. I'm telling you what I've lived through, what I've experienced, what I've tried multiple times, and have the proof to show you that, hey, you can do it. You can have it. You can obtain it. You can live in it. You can be in that place, but you've got to be willing to take a few of those big risks, aka small calculated risks that'll transform your life for the better for the first time and not just the last time. So thank you all. I love y'all. Coach Ev is signing out. Have a good night.